Hello all, thank you for joining Time and Space Portal technical webinar. My name is Uroš Kočevar and today I'm going to talk about the installation procedure. As you may probably know, Time and Space Portal is a brand new module which is available in Time and Space 11.30 version, which was released a month ago. And this module is a little bit different when it comes to the installation. So this why we decided that we will prepare a dedicated workshop where we will explain details, and today I will show you how it's done also in practice. Of course, before when you think about the time and space portal, you need to know why this module is used and what it offers. It can be we can say that time and space portal is a successor of WebTS module. So this is a module that offers management of time attendance data. And we also prepared a chart where you see the comparison of features between old and the new module. So, of course, the most, let's say, interesting or important differences between these two modules are the following. Of course, the first is the responsive graphical interface, which this module brings, and the native HTTPS support. Of course, we try to bring as many as functionalities that the old module has, but of course we did not we did not make it to 100%. So you must be also aware that some pieces are also not available or not there. So the thing that is not available in this module comparing to the old one is job costing functionality. This is the special job costing view which is enabled in the configuration files in the WebTS, and also the front space part, which is related with the visitor management and the visits. The one thing that is also not supported in this initial version, but will be supported in the upcoming version, is the authentication mode. So for now, the only way how you can log in to this module is by using a standard authentication. This means that the username and the password is created in the time and space system, for example, in the time and space manager, or also in this time and space portal, but you cannot log in with user accounts which are in native or with Active Directory. This Active Directory support will be, as I mentioned before, added in the upcoming releases. So this, you don't need to screenshot this comparison, because this chart is also available, I think, in the What's New document, which is distributed along with this 11.30 version. So before we go to the practical part, I want to take a couple of minutes also to talk about the architecture of this module, because if you know how this background is built, then you also have a more, I don't know, then you can, let's say, easily understand why the installation procedure is such as I will display later. So the module itself can be divided into three separate parts. The first part is called the time and space portal. This is the web application and serves as an entry point for the end users. So let's say like a graphical part of the module. Then we have the level 0 module, which is responsible for the authentication. So this module has its own authentication part and does not uses the existing authentication from the time and space, but of course we added so the user accounts from the existing users are synced into this new module, so the same username and passwords can be used. And of course, the third part is the time and space API. So this API is responsible for serving the data to the web application. And as you can see here in the diagram, this time and space API uses also the data from the existing APIs, such as time API and space API. And of course, all the data is stored in the same database. But as you will see in the upcoming steps, the time and space portal also requires an upgrade of the database. So what do you need to be aware before making installation of the portal? So of course you need to have time and space version 1130 or newer, and you also need to install time and space API and space API. So time and space API is standalone API, but space API is the part of the device administration portal module. So if you have device administration portal installed, you also get space API. And of course, you need to have time and space report generator tool, which is used in this module for generation of time reports. Of course, since this module is running or on IIS server, you need to have this this Windows feature along with this application initialization feature. Details about these features can be found in the time and space portal manual. So all these details, which Windows features you need to install, are described there. Then you also need to have URL rewrite module, ASP.NET Core components, .NET framework, and you also need to take care about the version of a database server. So with SQL Server, you need to have at least version 2016, and with Oracle database, you need to have version 12.2 or newer. So what will happen if you would use the older version of database, which is, let's say, not supported? When you would execute this database upgrade script for a portal, of course, some errors will appear, and this will probably result in the malfunction of the application. Okay, so when we talk about the installation, we can talk about the 4 steps that you need to execute in order to successfully complete this task. I will firstly show, or let's say talk about each step through this PowerPoint, and then later on I will show each step also in practice how it's done. So the first thing that we need to set up or think is the HTTPS binding. As I mentioned before, time and space portal operates only on HTTPS protocol. This means that the site where you will install time and space portal needs to have HTTPS binding setup. So you need to define a host name which will be linked with the HTTPS port, and of course, when you set up a binding for HTTPS port, you also need to use SSL certificate. Here you can use your own certificate, or you can use also a certificate which is installed when you install a time and space portal module, and this certificate is called Spica time and space. This certificate is self-signed. This means that if you're going to use this certificate, and when you will open this application for the first time, you will get a warning, and when you will accept this warning, then this warning will not be shown anymore. The important thing with this HTTPS binding is that when you will decide either you will use a host name or an IP address for this binding, then with all the following configuration, you need to use the same binding. So for example, if you're going to use, I don't know, let's say name of the server, then also the application will be accessible only on this binding, not and you will not be able to access it with some other name or by just using IP address. And of course, the thing to keep in mind with this binding is that if you use the default port for HTTPS, which is 443, you can skip this port when you update configuration parameters. So it's the same as we have it with HTTP port, which is 80. So if you have 80 port, you can skip it when you write it, I don't know, in the URL address or in the configuration files. But if you use some other ports, then this port need to be added along with the host name or IP. So the next step is the application installation. So the installation package, or is found on the time and space distribution media. So for example, you download the whole distribution for our partner portal, you expand it, and if you go to folder server time and space portal, then there you will find the setup, and you will start the setup and follow the installation procedure. This installation procedure is quite simple and mainly goes with the next button. Of course, it validates the requirements which are needed, and you will see I will show you now how this looks in practice. So I have already set up on my machine 11 time and space 1130 version along with the demo database. So, and I also set up time and space API and space API. So because we are limited in time, and we will just focus on this new model. So let's say I have a up-to-date time and space system, and now I want to add a time and space portal module to my installation. I already downloaded the time and space SQL Server distribution. If you don't know where to find it, you can always go to our partner portal, log in. Of course, you need to apply for the credentials, and here if you go under documents, download, you will see the different sections, and if you check under current releases, you will see time and space version 1130 along with some other support modules like PIF, approval workflow, etc. So for getting the portal, this is in the basic installation. So you either download SQL Server or Oracle Edition. I've already done that. I extracted this content of the zip file, and as I mentioned before, I navigate to server and search for the folder time and space portal. Here you see the two files, and I will start this one, the exe one, because you could also start this another one, but the result will be the same. So the setup procedure is started. I will just navigate through these steps, and on the second step, the setup checks if all the requirements which I talked before about the .NET version, .NET Core version, are there. If these requirements are not met, you will be stopped here, and you will need to install them before you can proceed. So on the next step, you can select by default all these parts of the modules will be installed. I will not change anything here. I will just leave it everything to default options. And on the fourth step, you can change the site, the website on which the application is installed. I will just leave on my default website. And on the last step, you choose which database type you will use, Microsoft SQL Server or Oracle database. On today's demo, I will use Microsoft SQL Server. And with a couple of more next button clicks, this installation is started and completed in the few seconds. Okay, so now I have installed the application. I already have set up my binding. So if I go to the Internet Information Services Manager under the default website and I check bindings, you see that I have decided that I will use a host name, this R-euros10, and my HTTPS port will not be default but a custom one. And because I just want to show you the type of installation that is, let's say, a little bit more complex than when you are using default port. So I will use my host name, this one, and with this 444 port for HTTPS. Okay, so the next step which I need to do in my installation is to update database. So as I mentioned at the start, you need to check before upgrading the database that your database server is at least 2016 for SQL Server and 12.2 for Oracle database. This database upgrade must be done manually, so it's not part of this standard time and space installation wizard. So once again, you will go to the time and space distribution media under server database scripts, looked for the appropriate script and then check the description on the top or on the start, make adjustments or updates of the script, and then execute this script with the super user on the time and space database. Okay, let's do this now. So we will go once again to our database. So server database scripts, and here along with this scripts for the empty, or let's say initial database, we have now a brand new script which is called time and space portal. I will just create a copy of this script and open it in the text browser, and on the top you see that before executing the script you need to update a certain variable in the script with the host name or IP address of the server where time and space portal will be installed. So in my case, as I mentioned before, I have decided that I have linked my HTTP binding with my host name r-euros euros k10, and my HTTPS port is 444. So what I need to do, I need to find and replace this variable with my HTTPS hostname and port. So in my case, I will replace this with my hostname and port, and I will execute find and replace option because I think that there are several instances of this variable in this script. When this is replaced, I will just copy and paste this script in some database management tool. So I will now execute this script on my database. So if you have database servers with multiple databases, like here in my case, make sure that you have selected the right database here in this drop-down menu, because the script is executed in the database which is selected here. So I will just execute my script, and here you see that a lot of new tables and things has been added to my database. Okay, so now I have completed the third step of the installation. So, and now I have only one step left to do, which is I need to set up some configuration parameters. So when we talk about architecture of this module, we have seen that this module is set up of various APIs and parts, and each of these APIs has its own configuration file. And by default, these configurations files are set just so the configuration is this files is by default set to the host name of this machine. But of course, if you are using the custom HTTP port, like in my case, you need to then update all these things. So here's the list of the things that you need to do. Of course, for identity and level 0 API, you need to also add the information about the database. So you need to add the information about the server and the database. And some other things, also the time and space API keys, etc. And as you see, there can be quite a lot of things to update if you are not using this default port. To ease up this configuration, we have prepared one database, let's say a script, which ease up this process, and can also be very handful, because when you are updating multiple parameters from the you can also can make easy mistake. So with this script, you can make sure that you will not make these mistakes. So where you can find this script? So this script is found on our partner forum. So if you go to our partner forum and you search for this post, so time space portal application parameter update script, you will get this script. So I can show you. So if you go here under tech forum, database and installation and database issues. So you can also use a search option for this. So here you can download the archive where this script is in, and what you need to do is, of course, make some modification on this script. I have already downloaded this script, and so this script is has two parts. So the script and this exe tool. This exe tool is used then to update this configuration in multiple text files. So if I open this script in the text editor, on the top, once again, you have the information why this tool is used and what you need to update, etc. So once again, you need to specify some variables. So where this script is locally installed, where is the IIS directory, and then here you see that you set up the default HTTP address, which is set by the setup, and the updated HTTP address. So in my case, I would like to update the default one, which is set to just r-euros k10, to the one which uses 444 custom HTTPS port, along with the database server name, address, and also the name of the time and space time API and space API variables. So in order that time and space API can communicate with these APIs, you need to configure appropriate keys. These keys are stored in a database. So I have prepared this SQL to get this information. So for easy way how to check the version of the SQL Server is just typing select afna version and running this statement, and with this statement you can get the version of the SQL Server, because as I mentioned, it's before you run this database upgrade script, is very important that you have appropriate version. So, but in this case, I'm interested in time API and space API key. So time API keys is stored in the table time underline app underline API underline keys. So I will copy this key, which is under CSP name, in this update script, because I want that my time and space portal is able to communicate with these APIs. Of course, these keys are different for each installation. And this one is for Space API. Okay. So now I have saved this, and how do I execute this this update of the configurations files with the script? I just execute this cmd operation, and you see that a lot of updates has been done, and my configuration files. So if you go to the location where this portal is installed, so inetpub root, and let's say identity service API, so this app settings.json is the name of the configuration file for identity service API. I see that addresses which are used here has been updated from the default ones to the ones which use my custom HTTPS port. So now I have also updated all required parameters, and the last thing that I need to do is to synchronize user accounts, existing user accounts in the TimeSpace, which TimeSpace portal. As I mentioned before, TimeSpace portal has its own authentication engine, let's say, or part built in. So in order that you use the existing accounts, this synchronization needs to be done. So this synchronization is done by the application itself. So of course, before this synchronization could not be executed before I have set up the correct parameters for the database for the my APIs. So now the last part that I need to do is to restart IIS service, and this after a minute, this synchronization will start in the background. So I have just stopped and started my IIS service, and now I will wait for a minute for this process to start and complete in the background. And how can you check if this synchronization of the existing accounts has been completed? You can make a query when you will get content of the user accounts table, and here you see that now we have a new column, or let's say additional column added to this table, which is called identity server subjects. And when this column is filled with some data, this is the message. Then the existing user accounts are successfully synchronized with the TimeSpace portal. So we can check this if this has happened. So I have already have this select statement prepared. I have executed this statement, and you see that the existing user accounts has been synchronized. This means that I can now log in with my existing TimeSpace users. So for demo database, this is username demo and password demo to my new application. So on which address my new module is available? As I mentioned before, this TimeSpace portal operates only on HTTPS. So of course, the name will start with HTTPS. So, and then you need to enter either the host name plus port of which was used also when you so the same host name and the port which was used here in the database update, or IP address. So this is the binding which I talked at the beginning. So in my case, this is R minus euros K10, and since I do not use the default HTTPS port, I need to add port 444. Since the authentication is not done on the since the authentication in Timespace portal is done on the identity server, you will see that when you will enter this address, you will be redirected to some other URL. So in my case, I will open my web browser and I will enter this address. So here, just once again, so if I enter this one more time manually, user is redirected to this identity server API, and here you see the login screen. So if you see this login screen, that most of the installation is successfully done. And if the user accounts are synchronized, then you can log in with the existing username and password. In my case of demo database, the username and the password of the admin is demo. So now I have successfully signed in to the application, and the two things left which I need to also do to complete my installation is I need to set Timespace API address in Timespace Manager. This information is then stored into database, and this API is then used. So for example, now you can, if you will, for example, add a new user accounts via Timespace Manager or WebTS, this API makes sure that then these user accounts are automatically synced to Timespace portal. And also, of course, now you have the same possibility to create new user accounts within Timespace portal, and then this user accounts are synced back to the Timespace. So what is the address? What address do I need to enter here? So here in Timespace Manager, go under Options, Other, and here you will enter so the same name of my HTTPS binding, which is used all the way through all the configurations, and so the same /Timespace API. So this one, and so this step needs to be done only once, because this information is stored in database, and all other Timespace Manager clients will already have this setting set. And the last thing is that you need to set up, or let's say copy this Timespace report generator tool, which is some external tool which can be used to create time reports. So what you need to do, once again, you need to go to the installation media, to folder server report generator folder, copy this tool to your Timespace Manager folder. You can also use a subfolder. It doesn't matter, but if you use a subfolder, then you need to add this additional files to it. So let's do just this step. So server report generator, this tool you need to copy to your time space installation folder. So I have placed it here under root, but you can also use a subfolder, and that's it. So now if you do this, now you're also able to create time reports with this tool. So this is it, mainly from my side. If any of you have some questions, please write them into your chat boxes and I can answer them. Are there any questions related to okay, as I mentioned before, this is the initial version of the time space portal. In the upcoming version, we will try to also make this setup procedure a little bit easier. So you will not need to set this a lot of things manually, but hopefully this setup procedure will take care of most things, so it will be a little bit easier. So if you are interested how this time space portal looks like in practice, you can use also our demo installation or site where we have all these web modules available, and this site is publicly available. So if you go to this address, so rndweb.spica.com, here you have the list of all web modules which are available, and here on the first place you have a time space portal, and here you can enter this demo installation with same with the demo username and password, and you can use this installation, I don't know, to play, to check the functionalities, etc. But before you will go to, I don't know, to the real installation, to your customers and so on, I suggest you that you go through this setup procedure on your local installation in the office, so you will be more familiar with this installation process, and you will be more confident when doing installation at your customers. Okay, thank you all for the attendance. Hope you learned something new, and of course, if you will have some issues or I don't know, challenges with setting up this new tool, you can also always turn to our support, which will help you. Have a nice day, and bye from my side.